selling, but we're not buying. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 outrageous statements made by business leaders. For this list, we're focusing on extreme public statements allegedly made by prominent figures in the business world. That means we're excluding any words that might have been recorded or said in private, such as Donald Sterling's infamous racist rant.
Yeah, it bothers me a lot that you want to broadcast that you're associating with black people.
Or Leona Helmsley's comment about taxes and little people. Number 10, competition with Africa, Gina Reinhardt.
Although she has this now national profile as a mining magnate, that she has never in her own right fully owned and operated a mine.
With a net worth of $11 billion in 2015, the chairperson of the privately owned mineral and exploration company Hancock Prospecting is one of the richest people in the world. But wealth doesn't always equal generosity, at least not when you consider what Gina Reinhardt declared over YouTube with respect to her views on how expensive it is to employ Australians.
Furthermore, Africans want to work, and its workers are willing to work for less than $2 per day. Such statistics make me worry for this country's future.
Her controversial 2012 comments for the Sydney Mining Club unsurprisingly drew backlash. Most notably, then Australian Prime Minister Julia Gillard dismissed the statements, while then Deputy PM and Treasurer Wayne Swan called them insulting to their fellow Australian workers. Number 9, digital prick, Don Matrick.
I think people are imagining outcomes that are worse than what we believe it's going to be in the real world.
When the Xbox One was initially released in 2013, the president of Microsoft's Interactive Entertainment seemed pretty sure of himself and its always-on feature, which was complemented by a controversial digital rights management system.
The average internet connection is working the majority of the day.
But gamers didn't quite buy this concept. They also didn't appreciate Don Matrick's dismissive attitude towards those without 24/7 internet access. And so it didn't really come as a surprise that he left the company shortly after making this statement.
Fortunately, we have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called Xbox 360.
Number 8, gummy bears and cigarettes, bad habits, James J. Morgan.
Relaxes your larynx, does it not? Cigarette smoking calms the nerves and gives you confidence.
In the late 90s, the president of Philip Morris USA offered up a unique correlation between candy and cigarettes when he was questioned about the hazards of tobacco and secondhand smoke. Basically, he equated smoking with going to the movies and tearing through an entire bag of gummy bears. That's right, James J. Morgan curiously noted the following similarities between inhaling actual smoke into your lungs from cigarettes and consuming the sweet stuff. Quote, if they are behaviorally addictive or habit-forming, they are much more like caffeine, or in my case, gummy bears. Call us crazy, but somehow cigarettes seem to be a bit more problematic for the human body.
Roll the... Okay, ready?
Number 7, the Ratner effect, Gerald Ratner.
I certainly took a turn for the worse after making that infamous speech in 1991.
When you become a monster business magnate, a certain sense of invincibility can take over, and may lead you to blindly spew verbal diarrhea. For example, take Gerald Ratner, the former chief executive of a jewelry company called Ratner's Group. Ratner took a brutally honest approach to his business by slamming his own products in a public speech. Exactly how honest was he? His words were,
people say to me, how can you sell this for such a low price? I say because it's total crap.
This and further remarks along similar lines led customers to shop elsewhere, Ratner's company to tank, and forced the company's new leader to dismiss Ratner in 1992.
What are you doing these days, Mr. Ratner? I said, I'm back in the jewelry business. He says, is it all crap? I said, that's a really good joke.
Number 6, Mexican criminals and rapists, Donald Trump.
Call me on the cell phone.
If Donald Trump wasn't already on your what the hell radar prior to 2015 for his business ventures, marriages, and/or his time as a television personality,
Kate, you're fired.
he definitely made himself known to you in June of that year with his presidential campaign kickoff speech. When discussing illegal immigration, Trump declared, quote, when Mexico sends its people,
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
Sure, he ended it with,
And some, I assume, are good people.
but the damage had already been done. Aside from the public outrage, the controversial and politically incorrect statements led several companies to terminate their deals with Trump, including NBC and Univision, which were behind The Apprentice and the Miss Universe organization.
People have to be alerted to the fact that we are getting some really bad characters coming into this country.
Number 5. Rented uteruses. Domenico Dolce.
Some people are calling for a boycott after the two designers made inflammatory remarks about families who give birth to children through in vitro fertilization.
In case you were curious, the Italian fashion designer named Domenico Dolce is not a fan of in vitro fertilization. So much so that in 2015, he went on record with regard to his beliefs about surrogate mothers. The statement didn't especially please Sir Elton John, who has children by IVF, or boost the sales of Dolce & Gabbana. The now infamous entrepreneur and one half of the luxury fashion house stated in a 2015 magazine interview, quote, "You are born from a father and a mother." Or at least that's how it should be. For this reason, I am not convinced by what I call children of chemistry or synthetic children. Uteruses for rent, sperm chosen from a catalog. Such a strong statement for such a seemingly sweet guy.
I just found it offensive to say that any child was synthetic. Their own personal beliefs about family are their own beliefs, and I respect them, although I find it very sad.
Number 4. Bad Dog. Doug Morris. You know how a puppy tilts its little head when trying to understand human words? Well, imagine the collective confusion when Universal Music Group CEO Doug Morris demonstrated his complete lack of business savvy when he tried to explain how legal and illegal file sharing disrupted the music industry. Rather than acknowledging the power of technology, he just admitted that record people didn't understand such things and posed a rather strange question. Quote, "It's like if you were suddenly asked to operate on your dog to remove his kidney. What would you do?" Good point, Doug. Solid argument. Number 3. Everything John McAfee.
As I said, I've had nothing to do with McAfee software for over 15 years. I've had more pressing things to do.
The URL to his own personal website is whoismcafee.com, and to be honest, we're not quite sure. Let's say this, the words that come out of this computer programmer's mouth don't often fall in line with typical human logic, with him most notably stating that using his own antivirus program is, quote, too annoying. It's kind of hit or miss with John McAfee.
John, where are you going?
To jail.
For example, his response to being jailed in Guatemala after he hacked into Belizean government computers to clear his name was, quote, "This is what happens when you try and address something that changes the status quo of a political system. You better be prepared to be crucified." Well, yeah.
If they're not after me, then we have a mass hallucination and we should all commit ourselves.
Number 2. Feed the World, Peter Brabeck-Lemata. Do humans have a public right to access water, the substance we're mostly made of? If you're Peter Brabeck-Lemata, the answer apparently is no. And you should take a serious interest in the privatization of water and proceed to give the world a reality check. The comments made by the chairman of the Nestle Group, which surfaced in the 2005 documentary We Feed the World, were as follows. Quote, "The one opinion which I think is extreme is represented by the NGOs, who bang on about declaring water a public right. That means that as a human being, you should have a right to water. That's an extreme solution. Good luck with that one."
And if we do not give a value to the water, those investments are not going to be made because nobody has an interest to invest because you don't have an economical return.
Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions.
I know it sounds cruel, but if he's going to do something, he should divorce her and start all over again. But to make sure she has custodial care and somebody looking after her.
There's no one who wants this thing over more than I do. I'd like my life back.
Number 1. Nostradamus, Steve Ballmer.
Do we have any Clipper fans here? I can't hear you!
Today, he's the overly enthusiastic owner of the LA Clippers, a man who seemingly knows how to connect. But sometimes it seems that perhaps Steve Ballmer just shouldn't talk. For example, how does a Harvard-educated CEO of Microsoft manage to drastically underestimate one of the most important modern innovations, namely the iPhone?
This is one device.
In 2007, Ballmer's arrogance showed when he talked with USA Today and said this, quote, "There's no chance that the iPhone is going to get any significant market share. No chance." Equally ridiculous was Alan Sugar's 2005 assertion that, quote, "Next Christmas, the iPod will be dead. finished, gone kaput. But it's definitely Ballmer's statement that takes the cake.
We were the #1 most profitable company in our business for a long time. Right. Two guys have passed us, and they both did it by making phones, Apple and Samsung. So, I mean, I don't think the software was the right play there.
Do you agree with our list?
Because it's total crap.
What business leader's statement do you think is the most outrageous?
How the hell can you vote for this guy?
For more mind-blowing top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
To give you the answer, because I recognize the dilemma, and the last thing I'd do is condemn you for taking that kind of action.